Welcome back to part 3 of this series called From Pedagogy to Andragogy and Beyond, Exploring Lifelong Learning in a Montessori Context. This video series is a capstone project for the Masters of Educational Leadership program with a designation in Montessori Education from Vancouver Island University. My name is Terrence Milley, and I'm filming here from the beautiful land of the Six Nations of the Grand River and the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, who hold the treaty with the Crown for these lands. I also remember the chain of Anishinaabe ancestors who served through time immemorial as the stewards of this land, and remember myself as a white settler in this place, with much to learn and one who needs to walk the lands with care, with curiosity, and with an open mind. In part 3, we will explore where is the learner in education. Both Dr. Montessori and Dr. Knowles agreed that in order to meet the needs of a human being, that human being must be at the center of their learning activities. To further understand this, Dr. Montessori named development as the aim of her method and placed the child at the center for the sake of her observations and the sake of the individual's own self-construction. The purpose of this short video is to contrast the different stages of development, the ruling psychological characteristics of each stage, the prepared environment that facilitates learning at each stage, and the experience of the abstraction or the abstraction of experience that feeds development and learning activities. Both the Montessori method and the Knowles theory of andragogy prioritize this activity as experience. The idea is that learning happens in 3 main parts: experience, exploration, and then expression. So experience is the part of life that happens, that is experienced by the learner. Exploration is their movement or manipulation of that experience, which might be having that experience in a new way, or it may be analyzing that experience with peers and colleagues. And then finally, expression, and that is finding some way to express that new learning for themselves. The idea is that the learning may be longer and more drawn out the more that we analyze our own experiences. So let's look first to the ruling characteristics. From 0 to 6 years of age, this is an age that is typically not thought about as being an age of education. However, Dr. Montessori shows us that it is. From 0 to 6, the child has a non-discriminating absorbent mind. This means that the mind is able to take in everything about the environment, take in all of the sensory information and tuck it away in a way that is complete and universal. That means it takes everything in the environment that is great and beautiful that has been placed there, and it also takes in all of the blemishes, the inconsistencies, and the things that we would maybe rather not have be there. The absorbent mind is helped by something called the sensitive periods. The sensitive periods are like spotlights that help to focus the absorbent mind in certain areas, and they wean in and out throughout the ages from 0 to 6. And those sensitive periods are for movement, language, sensory perception, and order. The first subplane, or the first half of that plane from 0 to 3, is for the acquisition of the psychic organs. And when I say psychic organs, that's a Montessori jargon term that includes things like language, movement, senses, order, will, and emotions. So the idea here is that In the embryonic period, all of the cells have created the organs in the organ systems to allow the physical body to function. But after birth, all of these psychic organs continue to develop, and it requires an interaction with the environment in order to build up these psychic organs. So again, those psychic organs are language, movement, senses, order, will, and emotions. The second subplane then is for all of these organs to form systems and become integrated and crystallized into the human personality. So the goal is the fully integrated personality that's capable of making choices and being in community with other individuals. The prepared environment that's required for this person of 0 to 6 has the qualities of home with the proportions of the children. So in the home itself, the proportions should be lowered to the size of children. And then for the second subplane, in the children's house, or when they move to the school for small children, the material, the furniture, the materials, the light switches, everything are lowered to the child's level so that they can access the environment so that nothing is out of reach. The children work individually, or they may work in parallel with each other using materials. Their experience, the experiences they have in these environments, are incarnated by the absorbent mind. So there's nothing blocking or parsing anything out. It all needs to be as perfect as possible, as beautifully curated as possible, so that it can go in. The children construct themselves, and they construct their social relationships. So the work then of the child is to build themselves, to build this integrated personality. So it's very different than thinking about it as a time for learning to read, or learning to write, or gathering math skills. It's not about that. It's about self-construction, about the creation of the individual. Okay, then from the time from 6 to 12 years old, there is a change now because the developing intellect is being accessed instead of in sensorial or through these sensitive periods. It's being accessed through the imagination and through the reasoning mind. The 6 to 12-year-old child is asking the question why and how, and wanting answers to those questions. And that's the reasoning mind becoming active. There's an intense need to associate with others, to develop friendships, to develop morality, to appreciate heroes, and to continue to grow in community. The prepared environment for the 6 to 12-year-old is different because it's a dual environment. It has inside, the classroom has the keys to the world through presentations, through stories, through key lessons, while the experiences outside of the classroom provide further opportunities for exploration, discovery, and an application of those keys. So the children from 6 to 12 need to spend time in the classroom and time out of the classroom in order to fully integrate everything that they're taking from their environment. The experiences they have, both in the environment, in the inside prepared environment and the outdoor environment, triggers curiosity. It triggers the reasoning mind. It triggers passages to abstraction. What is experience, is thusly converted to theorems and to ideas about the world. Then from 12 to 18, there is now a huge amount of physical and psychological development as the child transitions from being a child to becoming an adult of the human species. There's an increased need for a social group, and that need arises to serve as an individual within a part of that group, as a part of that group. The prepared environment involves the land. The resources on the land act as motivators for work, both to maintain and develop microeconomies, but also to understand how those resources need to be used, but also replenished, so that it's part of an ecosystem or a living life cycle. One of the best materials for an adolescent is another adolescent. They do not have a lot of experiences of their own, so another thing they need is an adult who does have experiences of their own, that's willing to share those experiences and willing to work shoulder to shoulder with the adolescent. The adult supplies the experience that the adolescent can analyze and learn from, and this prepares them to analyze their own experiences as they begin their own experiments and with their own microeconomies in the prepared environment. Experience is the focus of integrated learning. The science, math, and humanities of everything done on the land for the adolescent has both practical and abstract purposes. For example, in raising chickens, you might think of that as just examining the life cycle of the chicken, but you also have to think of the shelter, the protection that they require, the methods for feeding them, the methods of collecting the eggs, and finally the end of life plan and how to use the meat that might be generated at the end as well. So there's a whole cycle of work and things to consider. Then in the second subplane, from 18 to 24, not the second subplane. From 18 to 24, Dr. Montessori called this adulthood. But we know from a neuroscience point of view that the brain is still developing until the age of 24 or later. There is some overlap here with adult learning. So we turn to Malcolm Knowles for some more information. The learner in adulthood applies knowledge to situations, knowledge they already have. They apply it to situations in new ways, to discussions about the past experience, and those discussions inform and connect with whatever plans they might have for the future. That is how new ideas or new applications of ideas emerge. The adult learns in equal measure from experts and from peers. The prepared environment must facilitate large group listening activities, small group practical and manipulative learning, sharing, and seminar or case-based discussions. Furniture must be easily reconfigured to suit any arising needs. The adult brings plenty of experience to the learning situation, so the leader must be prepared to provide outlets for sharing the experience, and it connects to the new knowledge, as it will connect to the new knowledge. Relevance and interconnection are what keep the adult learning and engaging. Relevance and interconnection are common throughout this whole plan of education. It is really a matter of getting more and more explicit about how those aspects link to development and to the activity of learning.